Whether you're expecting, planning to start a family, or just curious about special dietary considerations during pregnancy, you are just in the right place. We have an incredibly important and innovative session and discussion lined up for all of you. Pregnancy is a beautiful and a transformative journey, but it also comes with a unique set of challenges, especially when it comes to what you want to eat. And now, with more awareness and so much around about food and lifestyle changes, we are always on our toes. Today we'll be discussing about special dietary considerations during pregnancy, covering topics like gestational diabetes, gluten insensitivity, food allergies, and unique aspects of multiple pregnancy. Joining us today is Nupur Arya, a renowned expert in the field of nutrition, who will also be sharing her valuable insights and tips with us to navigate through a smooth and a beautiful pregnancy. She is the co-founder of Nutriment. Nutriment is a diet consultancy clinic founded by Neha and Nupur in 2015. So rest assured, they have years of experience. They coach on people how to eat right so that they feel confident in their bodies and achieve their desired goals. They believe in empowering clients and with education and information that will help them make good food choices and make them feel confident and better throughout their life. They not only focus on a short term goal basis, but they look to change your lifestyle and your way to eat for a long period of time. So let's invite Nupur here. Just give me a second while I invite Nupur here. I think our expert is just figuring out some technical issue and a Wi-Fi issue. Just give us some time. Stay tuned. Write in your questions while we try to connect with her. I can say she's joined. Nupur, can you please send me a request? I'm not being able to send you one. Okay. Hi, Nupur.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I just gave a good, nice, long brief about you and what you do, and how both you and Neha have, changed people' life in due course of time while you were joining us. And since it's a very small session, I will just go forward and ask you the most asked question of all times, because
Right.
once pregnant you are bombarded with so many information about what you should eat and what you should not eat, and then you have your mothers, your family, your mother-in-laws, and
Yeah,
everybody tell you what to eat. So from a nutrition
absolutely.
point of view, what do you think is a healthy diet for a pregnant woman?
Right. Firstly, I would like to say everyone who's watching, if you are pregnant right now, your body is working incredibly hard to make and grow that little human inside you, right? And if you are pregnant and you have never really cared about the kind of food you have eaten or the kind of lifestyle you have, then now is the time to start focusing, because you need to start eating better. You need to start living healthier, because the physical requirements of making a baby is extremely high, right? And when we talk about what does a healthy diet look like during pregnancy, so I feel whatever diet you follow, it should consider 3 points. Firstly, are your nutrient requirements being met? Is the mom's nutrient requirement being met? Which means, for example, iron. The iron requirement for a pregnant woman doubles during pregnancy. And if you don't eat enough iron during pregnancy, what happens? The baby also needs iron. So the body is going to prioritize the growth of the baby. So they are going to take out all the iron from your iron stores and give it to the baby, because that's number one priority. So, but what is happening is you are left extremely deficient. So a lot of times when women complain post delivery that my weakness is not going, or I have this ache, that ache, a lot of times it's because of a lot of deficiencies that they could be having in their bodies, because they have not taken care of their diet during their pregnancy. Second thing that is extremely important is, the growth of the fetus. Overall healthy diet is important, but there are certain nutrients that is required by the body, so that there's proper fetal development, which we obviously talk about in the, next segment. And thirdly, your diet should be such that it should not create complications for you. It should make you healthier. Earlier we would see in movies and all, we had this image of pregnant women, midnight, I'm craving an ice cream, or like, I want to eat this and that. Now you're pregnant, so you can eat whatever you want to eat. But that's far away from reality, because if you actually eat the way that we've seen women eating, you will become extremely overweight, which can create a lot of problems later on throughout your pregnancy. So it should make you healthier and better, and it should not put you in a worse place.
Thank you so much for answering that.
Yeah,
Actually, Bollywood has brought out a lot of myths, and actually, I would say myths because that is not the correct way.
absolutely.
Please don't follow
Yeah,
that. I think people have become aware, so much awareness around, lifestyle change and so much being talked about. But still, I
yeah.
feel there's a gap and a huge gap that needs to still be bridged. Nupur, I have a next question since you mentioned iron deficiencies and nutrition values. What are the apart from iron, what are the some of the major or the most important key nutrients one should focus during pregnancy, even when they want to binge sometimes, but somehow balance that palate?
Okay. So along with iron, I think first is I would like to mention folic acid and folate, because that's very important for the development of the brain and to prevent spinal cord defects in babies, right? And usually when you get pregnant, doctors do prescribe you these prenatal vitamins, which takes care of most of your micronutrient needs. But it's a great idea to have enough of it from your diet as well. And especially if you're not pregnant and you're planning to get pregnant, then you must speak to your doctor and start with folic acid supplements and start eating more of foods that are rich in folic acids. And if you talk about what foods, then top of the list would be some green leafy vegetables, beans, lentils, citrus fruits. So these are some foods that you must incorporate in your diet. Similarly, choline is also extremely important for the development of the brain of the baby. So, eating a lot of yogurt, eggs, edamame if you have access to it, shiitake mushrooms. Again, this sounds fancy. If you have access to it, then go for it. Otherwise, stick to your eggs and yogurt, and you should get enough choline from there as well. Then protein is extremely important, and usually, especially vegetarians, they don't have enough proteins. Uh, if you weigh around 50 kilos, you must consume at least 50 to 55 grams of protein every day. And talking about the minimum value. So these are few things that you have to focus on. And when you want to binge, like you asked me, it's it's absolutely fine to binge once in a while, but regular binging is something that should not be done at all. Especially, usually people binge on outside foods. The quality of the food is so poor that you don't get any nutrient from it. What's the point eating it? You are just getting the calories and you're not getting any nutrient for yourself or for your baby.
Actually, thank you for answering that because, sometimes we feel that, binging means only eating outside. So we
Yeah,
can some good, nice, healthy recipes at home and, binge on those pizzas or, some Chinese or some noodles with, where you have control of your ingredients which you're putting into your food. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Nupur, I have a question on the comment box. So I would like to ask that before we move ahead.
Sure.
That, if a morning sickness. So how does she take care of a nutrient value throughout the day?
Okay. So morning sickness, most women go through it. So if you're going through it, don't I it's like majority of women go through morning sickness. I went through terrible morning sickness, and I know how terrible it is. And for some women, it's not just morning sickness, it's sickness throughout the day, throughout the night, the entire day you're feeling nauseous. Now, usually it does settle down in 3 months, okay? And it's hormonal, because of which it's happening. So the first rule of morning sickness or nausea is eating anything. Like, eating the things you can keep down. You don't puke it out, because some calories are better than 0 calories. So if it's like, in the first trimester, and you're just trying, the first trimester is just about survival. You need to just survive the symptoms. So first trimester, if you cannot manage your diet, if you cannot focus on this nutrient, that nutrient, the first thing is stay hydrated and eat something. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't want you to be dehydrated. I don't want you to be puking, vomiting so much and not eating, because that can lead to hospitalization, and that's not, So the first thing is eat something. Something is better than nothing. And how do you manage is, you try to combat your morning sickness by eating, small frequent meals throughout the day. When you keep a long gap between meals, that increases nausea. And everyone has certain triggers when you talk about morning sickness. Like, for some people, it's the smell of ginger or smell of garlic, smell of, certain, you find your triggers, stay away from it. Try to eat more of like bland foods like roasted potatoes or just plain bread, little bit of rice, things like that.
Okay.
So this is how you can manage your morning sickness.
Well, thank you for answering that. And before I go into the next question, I would like to, bring on the next question with an old wife tale that, the moment a female gets pregnant, the elders of the house start saying, now you have to eat for two. So what do you eat
Absolutely.
when you have multiple babies or you're expecting twins? Are you eating for three? Please bust that myth for our users and answer, how can the value of
Absolutely. Okay. So when we say eat for two, okay, you have to see, because of course it's logical, right? You are one person and you're carrying another person inside you, so that's eat for two. And if you're carrying two people inside you, that's eat for three,
yeah.
right? But you are a full grown human. Now the baby inside you is 1/10 your size, right? So that does not mean eat for two does not mean you have to eat for two fully grown human beings or three fully grown human beings. It means eat for your size and for the size of the baby. The size of the baby is this much. So you don't have to double or triple the food that you're eating. The catch here is, the even though the calorie needs are not that high, the nutrient needs are very high. So when you say eat for two, change the narrative from eating for two to nourishment for two. So make sure you're eating nutrient dense, very good quality foods to meet the requirements of the babies that you're carrying, if it's multiples or if it's single, and for yourself. So that's how you should change the narrative. It's not like you have to eat for two or three fully grown human beings.
So, do you say that when you are trying to eat a nourished meal, it means a colorful plate, or bringing in more variety of fruits and vegetables into your food habit, or daily lifestyle of how you eat food?
So when you talk about your plate, adding a variety is extremely important, because see, such certain foods could be high in certain nutrients while being deficient in the other, right? So when you add a variety of foods in your diet, you get a mix of everything. Like carrots are extremely rich in vitamin A. Then peas is rich in protein. So when you have like carrots one day, peas one day, beans the other day, keep switching it up, so you get an array of vitamins and minerals, so you're not deficient in anything. So yes, like definitely adding a variety and adding a rainbow. By rainbow we mean we add different colors, different kinds of fruits, vegetables to our plate, so we get all the nutrients that we need.
Thank you. Since I have started this question with a old wife tale, I would
Yeah.
like you to mention some myths that people or pregnant females or the family of the pregnant females should be aware of.
Okay, so this very funny experience I had. This woman came to me. She was my client, and she had gestational diabetes, right? And I was like, okay, give me your diet recall. And when I checked her diet, her morning regime consisted of like 10, 12 things, which included milk, cashews, kesar,
My God.
nariyal, badam barfi, and I don't know what not. And I was like, I'm going to remove all of this because your body doesn't need it. And she was like, I don't think I can remove this. My mother-in-law will be very upset if I remove all of this. And then I cracked it. I was like, okay, are you having all of this because it's white in color? So there is this big myth
Yeah.
that the more white
Oh
foods you
my.
consume, yes, that will influence the skin color of your baby. And it is so absurd that, even now in this generation, in this time, we believe something like this. So this is a big myth, and please do not complicate your diet to incorporate white foods because it's not going to help you out at all. So this is one thing that I keep hearing repeatedly. Then of course, eat for two that you mentioned. That's something that's very common. Thirdly, there are a lot of random small things like, you can't have tea and coffee at all.
Yeah.
Though that's not
But
true. You don't have to.
Indian culture, they say the baby will, be born of dark skin or kala bacha paida ho jayega if you drink tea or
Yeah,
coffee.
absolutely, absolutely. So, but even from health perspective, you don't have to give up your tea and coffee completely. Just, have an upper limit to it. 2 cups of coffee in a day, 3 cups of tea in a day. That's enough. Don't exceed more than that. So,
I
yeah,
think education is very good. But since you mentioned milk and um, because of white and also because of calcium, this entire thing that we drink milk, get a lot of calcium. Now people have started understanding, okay, milk is not the only source, but when it comes to pregnant women, it's still there. Once you're pregnant, 2 glasses of milk to pina hi padega. I've seen families doing that, and so much with adulteration of milk and so much happening around lactose intolerance. Since we are a generation, we grew up with drinking that milk or a glass of Bonvita from when
yeah.
we were, I think it's happened to everybody, but now we've completely gone off that regime. But in pregnancy, people are forced to drink milk of that kind. So how do you think that can be replaced so that it's a win-win situation for both the family and the pregnant female to understand, okay, I'm not drinking milk, but I've balanced it with something else.
Okay. So firstly, what is the motive of drinking milk? Why are you drinking this milk? To get enough protein or to get enough calcium or just because it's white? If it's because it's white, then I have nothing to say. But if it is because of protein and calcium, there are many other sources you can get this from. And see, firstly, if you can digest milk and if you enjoy drinking milk, then great. You don't have to change anything. But if that's not the case, you can have milk products like have chena paratha, have like dahi with your meals, have paneer ka sabzi, or add some paneer to your rice or pulao that you're having. So you get enough. You don't have to, be stressed about drinking that glass of milk that you hate, and you still get the benefits of milk. And if you can't digest milk products, also if you don't like the taste of it, then chia seeds, it's a great source of calcium. So that's something that you can consume. You can consume almonds for calcium. That's also very good. Tofu you can start consuming. And for proteins, then if you're a non-vegetarian, then eggs, chicken, fish. And if you're a vegetarian and you can't have dairy products, then have lots of dal, rajma, chola. There are many other sources to get these nutrients.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since we've been talking about what foods to eat, I have a question on what foods to avoid.
Okay. Uh, Okay, so the first thing I think what pregnant women should be really careful about should be raw cut vegetables and fruits, like pre-cut raw vegetables and fruits, okay? Because it has a high chances of getting contaminated, bacterial contamination. They have high moisture content. So that can lead to a lot of foodborne illnesses, right? So sometimes when we go to restaurants and we order a sandwich, we get this raw cut cabbage salad along with it or something. So, please skip that. Do not eat that, especially in restaurants and all, because you don't know if it's been refrigerated properly, if it's been stored properly. And there's very high chances of getting foodborne illnesses through that. Second is raw sprouts, again, because of the same reason.
Okay.
So, raw sprouts, especially that's not been stored in hygienic conditions. So, do not go to a restaurant and order for a raw sprout salad because you want to eat healthy. It can lead to a lot of complications. And anything that's unpasteurized, like unpasteurized, people say you can't eat cheese, soft cheese. It's because it's unpasteurized. Now, if it is pasteurized cheese, you can eat it. If the unpasteurized cheese is heated to a point that it's melting and the bacterial, all the contamination goes away, then you can consume that. So nothing unpasteurized you should be consuming. Then, of course, there's alcohol. We all know that you should not have a lot of it. And lastly, don't eat a lot of greasy, oily foods because you're going to gain excess weight. And like I mentioned, it's going to cause a lot of complications if you gain a lot of weight.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, since we've spoken about, whites and about a client who came up with gestational diabetes, that's one
Yeah.
question I want to ask because, that has become the talk of the town, the topic. And I think even if we go on to see the statistical report, the numbers are increasing day by day. So, uh, even uh, even if you don't have sugar in your normal lifestyle, in pregnancy, people tend to get this situation or this condition, and how to manage it during pregnancy, and also what you should take care, or you should put in mind after pregnancy so that you don't have a normal relapse of sugar levels in your life.
Okay. So, firstly, who is at risk of getting gestational diabetes? People who are obese or overweight, they are usually at risk of getting gestational diabetes. And people with some form of insulin resistance, like if you already have like a pre-existing, if you have like borderline diabetes before you conceive, or if you have like any kind of hormonal issues like PCOS and thyroid or something, so then there are more chances of insulin resistance during your pregnancy, which can lead to gestational diabetes. So how do you manage it? First thing, you have to manage your weight. So you cannot gain more weight than you should be gaining. So if you're already overweight, then you have to be extra careful about your weight gain. Then you can't gain like 15, 20 kilos. You have to be very strict about your diet and eat a certain amount only. So your overall weight is extremely important. The total calories that you're consuming, and calories, each meal is also important. So you cannot have a lot of big meals because that's going to lead to an insulin spike. So make sure you're having small, frequent meals to keep the glucose level stable. Thirdly, when we see what kind of plate it should be, like what you should be eating. Um, so if I talk about like a normal vegetarian thali that we have, okay, so don't take paratha and aloo ka sabzi. So fill your plate first with a lot of green vegetables, okay, have a bowl of yogurt, have little bit of dal, and then a small portion of roti or rice. So that's how your plate should look like. You have to add lot of green leafy vegetables. You have to add some form of protein to keep the glucose level stable. So that's something very important. And yeah, thirdly, just make sure you're not consuming the obvious evils like a lot of fried food and sugar laden foods. Yeah. Eat a lot of fiber, so that's very important. And also exercise can also help with insulin resistance. So if your doctor allows you to do that, get some form of exercise, so you'll be able to manage it.
So, girls and all the females out there, pregnancy doesn't give you a unwavering right to put all those extra kilos. Please make sure that you have a balanced meal and your weight is increasing gradually. Check with your gynecologist, meet a nutritionist, consult a dietitian, maybe Nupur or somebody, and don't get into these fads of getting these lifestyle problems. Last question, Nupur, I have with you, and I can't stop myself from asking you this because it's a year of millets, right? And
Yeah.
gluten insensitivity has become the biggest talk. And I don't know, this millet thing has come up abruptly or it's growing, but millets has been a part of a generation and our tradition from years. Like, maybe not so many what we are starting hearing of, but like the bajra, kuttu, sama, it's always been there. But more names have started coming up. And maybe because of, things are available across the country. Earlier things were available only there. Maybe that is why. But if people are going through gluten insensitivity, and also not for that, I think millets is a great source of nutrition and nourishment. How do you think
Absolutely.
can incorporate that and manage their food lifestyle?
Okay, so firstly, we'll talk about people who have gluten sensitivity, right? And it's important to understand that there are different levels of gluten sensitivity. Some people might be able to tolerate nothing that has gluten in it, but some people might be able to tolerate, say, if they have roti for lunch, they're able to tolerate that, but then they can't eat pizzas or something that's, when they overeat gluten, they can't tolerate that. So it's important to maintain a food diary to understand if you do have gluten sensitivity, maintain a diary so that you understand what you are eating and what are the symptoms you are facing after that. So you know exactly how much your body can take in. And then you can plan your diet accordingly. And otherwise, if you just want to incorporate millets in your lifestyle, in your diet, then it's a great idea. Ragi is rich in calcium. It's called the poor man's milk because it is so rich in calcium, right? Jowar, bajra, everything. It's rich in a lot of micronutrients. So it's a great idea to keep switching it up instead of having your normal roti every day. One day have ragi roti, one day have bajra. Keep switching it up, and instead of having normal rice you can have, like, millets made like pulao. So that's a great way to have it. So these are some ways you can incorporate millets in your diet. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it does. But no, I'm a great fan of millets, and believe me, I'm not gluten intolerant, but I have completely switched from wheat and maida to millet. Apart from the times I want to binge and go out once in a while and eat those.
Once in a mile, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So there we are here at the end of this. Thank you, Nupur. It was a delightful session, a very informative one. I hope this conversation can help a lot of families there, along with the mothers, because mothers are people who are, most inquisitive, but sometimes, like you said, a client who came and she said that the mother-in-law would be really upset. I wish these talks and this information we're trying to spread reaches the mother-in-laws of the family, since the digital gap has been bridged and
Yeah,
everybody's on
absolutely.
WhatsApp. I think my mother is a pro on using the WhatsApp more than I am, or using the Zoom more than. So I hope this conversation reached them, and we can help change this entire mindset about how to eat a healthy, balanced meal during your pregnant journey.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure being a part of it. Thank you so much for having me. I hope I answered most of your questions and it was helpful to everyone who joined the session.
Thank you, Nipul. Bye bye. See
Thank
ya.
you. Bye bye.